Hello Movie Mavens! Welcome back to another video on the B Movies channel. My name is Bailey and I put the B in movies. I hope that you are having a good week. I apologize again about a video not going out last week. My laptop was just on the fritz. I restored it to factory settings. Everything's good now. But I do apologize that no video went up last week. But the good news is I have a lot of fun stuff to talk about this week and next week. Lot of good movies are coming out too. I know I'm going to the movies. I'm fortunate enough to be able to go a couple times next week, so I'm super stoked about that. So I'll have some reviews for you coming up. So yeah, I don't have a lot for Bailey Babbles today just because I want to get into it. But I do want to thank those of you that have been letting me know that the sound's been off in some recent videos. I'm trying a couple of new things today that I think are going to help. With B Movies just being Elliot and myself, these things are bound to happen from time to time, but I do appreciate you letting us know when these things happen. And just for being patient and bearing with us since it's just the two of us. You're the best. And again, I'm hoping that what I did today is going to help with some of the sound issues. So, fingers crossed. So let's go ahead and dive into this week's blog roundup. If you are new to the channel, the B Movies channel is just a continuation of the B Movies blog that you can find at bmovies.blog. It's also always linked in our description box below. And so we release pieces every Monday through Friday. Sometimes it'll be on Saturday because I'll have a last minute idea like this week. But those pieces are usually up around 10 a.m. Today, the piece is going to come out at the same time as the YouTube video. Just because, again, this summer, I have been crazy busy, and it's all, for the most part, it's all very good busy. But yeah, so you can find pieces over there every single week. And so to go ahead and do our roundup for this week, on Monday, we did a spotlight on Meryl Streep. I don't feel like a lot needs to be said there. It's Meryl Streep. On Tuesday, we did another edition of Lost and Refound Media with Zoog Disney, which we do a lot of niche things here, but this is one of the nichiest things that I think we've done. On Wednesday, we talked about the Muppets. I freaking love the Muppets. I don't know about you. I love the Muppets, and so I thought it was time to throw out some really good Muppets content to watch. On Friday, we did the second edition of Drawing a Blank, which there are even more cartoons you might have forgotten about. There's actually one. I totally forgot about the Buzz on Maggie until it came across my Instagram feed. And that's why I was like, oh my gosh, we need to do another Drawing a Blank. And then today, my highly anticipated piece about the Lecterverse, including what I think about Hannibal, because I finally watched Hannibal for the first time, is up, and also includes why the piece is late. Is because I thought it would be funny to rate some fast food chains from the perspective of Hannibal Lecter using Hannibal Lecter quotes, because that's how my brain works. So, just to recap this week over on the B Movies blog, Meryl Streep Spotlight, Zoog Disney, the Muppets, Drawing a Blank #2, and the Lecterverse. So next up, let's go ahead and dive into our Bite Size Sunday teaser. For those who don't know, Bite Size Sundays are little reviews that live over exclusively on our Instagram, which is just at B Movies channel, same as our YouTube. You can only get the teasers here, so it's a perk of being subscribed to our YouTube channel. And those usually drop around 8 or 9 CT on Sunday mornings. And so this week's hint is Nancy Drew, but make it Gen Z. And I am very excited to talk about this piece of content. I really enjoyed it. So, I want to do something for today's deep dive, which is where we talk about like a piece that came out during the week or something that's inspired by a piece. But I want to do something a little bit different because last week, since my laptop was acting absolutely insane, I want to actually do a deep dive about a piece from last week that I was really excited about that we didn't get to talk about. So I want to talk about last week's piece where I dove into the anatomy of a sleepover. I want to talk about it for a couple reasons. So first and foremost, shout out to Elliot. Elliot's idea was to tackle some sleepover activities, and so shout out to Elliot. This was an excellent idea. She proves to me constantly why I, like, asked her to be my partner in crime for B Movies. And so I just want to give her a huge shout out for this idea, because it's awesome. So, we've, hopefully, we've all had sleep experience with sleepovers. And I mean, like, there have been times, like, I was a kid, there were multiple times that I asked to leave. I was bullied, most of the time, especially a lot of the sleepovers I went to, someone would always end up in tears at some point during the night. And so there were 4 big activities that were part of the sleepovers I went to growing up, which were charades, prank phone calls, light as a feather, stiff as a board, and truth or dare. And so the first one I want to talk a little bit more about are charades. And if some of you are wondering, because I know some of you did do Ouija boards, they were not allowed in my home growing up. One of my sister's friends tried to bring one into the house exactly one time, and my mother took it and threw it in our front yard. Our family does not mess with Ouija boards at all. I don't in my adult life. I won't get into all of my beliefs about things, but I personally, that's something I don't touch. And so if you're like, why are there's nothing about Ouija boards? That's why there's nothing about Ouija boards. So, let's talk about charades, first up. So, charades, as far as I could tell in my research, started in about 18th century France. And there are some variations that may have shown up as early as, like, 16th century France. But what really, like, put charades on the map was when the Brothers Mayhew published Acting Charades or Deeds Not Words, a Christmas game to make long evenings short, in England. And that's when you kind of saw everything really spike. They saw the potential of the game. It was already starting to gain some popularity, and that's when it really, like, took off. And so if you're looking for a movie to pair with charades that's also sleepover themed, might I recommend Slumber Party Massacre from 2021. It's a feminist reimagining of the film, and it's great. So next up, prank calls. And so, like, I'm not happy to say I've absolutely made some prank calls in my day. I grew up in the era of Star 67. So I was like, how did prank calls get started? I'm honestly, like, with this piece, I'm kind of living my Bailey Sari and dark history fantasy. Just that's how I feel. So I found out that some of the first prank calls to be recorded were, like, from the 1930s, which is crazy. And so, throughout the years, like, prank calls obviously really came into the limelight through pop culture. I can think of a ton of movies, especially, like, 80s movies, where they make prank calls. If you listen to radio, I usually don't listen to radio a lot unless I'm Ubering. Prank calls are still very common on, like, morning radio shows. And, like, obviously we had things like crank anchors. And I thought that if you're looking for a movie to pair with your prank calls at your sleepover, why not Scream? Why not Mr. Ghostface, I want to know who I'm looking at himself? So next up we have Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board. I only played this a couple times. This is one that, like, it was not big at the sleepovers I was going to, but also, like, I think something to bear in mind is I grew up in a very religious small town, and so I think that probably has something to do with it as well. But the first, like, actual reference to this game ever was from Samuel Pepys, or Pepys. I hope it's not Pepys, because that's very unfortunate. In 1665, he wrote a letter to one of his friends, and he claimed that, like, he came across a group of girls in France who managed to, quote-unquote, levitate their room while reciting a ritualistic poem. Like, shocker, it probably comes from witchy-ish. Like, shocker, couldn't feign surprise if I tried. So, if you're looking for a good movie to pair with Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board, obviously The Craft, because they play Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board in The Craft. And again, that's probably why I didn't see a lot of it growing up. So next up, we have Truth or Dare, which, like, I hated playing it because, y'all, people can be ruthless. Teenagers can be ruthless. It would always be risky on what you were dared to do, so I would usually almost always try to do truth. Um, and so apparently Truth or Dare is like over 300 years old. Like it's the earliest iteration seems to have taken place like 1712. Though some people may believe it started with the Greeks, which, like, you know, they were little freaks. That would make sense to me. And so, you know, regardless of how it started, Truth or Dare almost always ends up with someone's bra in the freezer. That's just how it was when someone's bra was going in that freezer when I was a kid. And so if you're looking for a good movie to pair with Truth or Dare, might I suggest Would You Rather? So that is our deep dive. I will link our sleepover piece too, because I just really enjoyed writing it. I'm very sad that we didn't get to talk about it last week. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into today's special features. So special features, this part of the video is just reserved for like updates on our favorite analog horror series or horror ARGs, or just things that I want to talk about but I may not necessarily write about. Again, another perk of subscribing to the YouTube channel. So the first thing I want to start off with that I think is really, really, really fun is KView, which is the station in Austin, posted this little video that was a report from Halloween in Austin in 1985. And I just thought this was such a fun thing because it's so like aligned with like things like the WNUF Halloween special. It feels like it's ripped straight from that type of film. And it's also crazy to like look back on what Austin used to look like. Like, I've lived here for 14 years, but it's just really cool to look back and see what it used to look like. And you'll have to hear this man, they ask a question, and this man, it's the last answer of this question, and y'all have to hear what this man says. And so I will link the video below. I just think it's really fun. We're getting close to spooky season, because if you don't know me, how my mind works is it's my birthday, because this is my birthday month, and then Halloween starts for me. Like, I've already been buying some Halloween stuff, because there's already been a lot of code oranges. I fought for my life for that Bluey Halloween blow mold from At Home. I fortunately got one, but I fought for my life on that website. So I just thought this would be fun because we're in like pre-spooky season. Like, we're so close that you can taste the pumpkin spice. So next up, a very, very, very exciting update. We have new Dog Nightmares. We have a new little video. So I do want to say, Picky Soda announced that Dog Nightmares would be taking a more cinematic approach moving forward. I think that's a really rad choice. I fully trust them and their vision for this series, because as we talked about in the original video, it made my skin crawl, and it's very hard to make my skin crawl. And that creature, the Wagman creature, made my skin crawl. So fully trust them, and this video is great. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So we have a slideshow of like several family photos that are set to the song Moonlight in Vermont. And everyone's faces are covered by different animals. And it appears to be, at least from my interpretation, the same family we've seen in previous videos. I do believe this video does confirm the theory that Emily had a sibling. I do believe that. And so then, after we get through all of the different photos, we cut to some video footage, it's from behind, of someone walking towards a lake alone in the moonlight, which the song is Moonlight in Vermont. And then the music stops, and we only hear the sound of water for the last few seconds of the video. And I'm very intrigued. And I have a bit of a theory. And I'm teetering. I'm like, is it a theory, or is like this is how it's supposed to be interpreted? So, but either way, I want to go ahead and like call it out now. I think that there's an animal like specifically assigned to each family member. And I think that we're going to see more of this throughout the series, but that's what I think. I think that Emily is the little lamb. I think there was a crocodile. I think that we're going to see, and I need to watch it again because I already watched it twice, but, you know, self-doubt. But I think that each family member has a specific animal they're aligned with, and I think that that's how we're supposed to identify them. And that's my theory. But again, like Peggy Soda, this series rules. I'm so excited to see where it goes because this is so cool. This is such a cool concept, and I'm very excited. So next up, let's talk about Twisters. I loved Twisters, and not just because we know I am, for some reason, knee deep in my Glenn Powell phase. I don't know what this is, but I'm here for it. But like, yes, mama, give us gratuitous bad country music. Give us bad country accents. Give us Glenn Powell walking out of the house in a tight white shirt in the rain and a cowboy hat for no reason. Give us questionable, at best, science. Like, I've missed good old-fashioned summer blockbusters, and this was so much fun. It was so much fun. And I would love to see, like, a reemergence of this. You know, like the disaster movies from the 90s, like the original Twister, you had Dante's Peak. You had all of these where, like, the science made no sense at all, but it was a fun ride. So I definitely recommend Twisters if you haven't seen it. And this is another one I would recommend seeing in the theater just because it is, like, I didn't do the 4XD. Like, before I say that, like, y'all are wild for doing the 4XD, but, go see it in the theater if you can. And I mean, I know that that's not a possibility for people, and so I fully understand that, but if you can, please, I would go see it in the theater, because it's a lot of fun. So, next up, Vintage 8, we have a new series, called 8 Steps of the Eye, and the second one is already out, so I will cover it next week, but we've all been invited to the Children of the Static, which, hi, hello, if the Static sounds familiar, you're not crazy, and we will be given 8 tasks in order to join, and if we pass these, like, trials and tribulations, we'll get immortality, riches, you name it. So our first task is to find where the eye fell, which appears to be the sinkhole from the Sinkhole series that I've covered on the channel before. And we're supposed to meet them on the 8th day at the 8th hour on the 8th month. Or we'll be consumed forever. And so my question is, Vintage 8, is this also the cult from Sinkhole? Are we doing a comeback? Is this a callback? Either way, I'm very excited. I'm seated for this. I really, really like this one too, Vintage 8. I know I've talked about the Incomplete People too. I really like this 8 Steps of the Eye, and you know that I love the Kate's Crossing universe, and I love Sinkhole's one of my favorite series that you've done, and so I'm very excited about this one. So lastly, let's go ahead and jump into this week's subtitles. So subtitles, these are just fun little tidbits from around the internet, just pop culture news, anything that I think is fun. And I actually have a lot this week, so let's buckle up. So, first off, there's allegedly a new Spawn movie on the way from Blumhouse called King Spawn, as Todd McFarlane and Jason Blum have both posted pictures of a script on social media. Excuse me, that was so rude. So very stoked for that. A new Monster High video game is on the way called Monster High Skulltimate Secrets. I love Monster High. If you don't know, I collect Monster High dolls. I love them. I think they're very cute and cool. And wish they were a thing when I was a kid. Next up, the Boulet brothers are writing a comic book series for DC Horror. I'm very excited. On Creatures of the Night, last week or week before last, they actually said, I think it's going to have like a major superhero in it. And so they're not releasing who it is yet, but I'm very excited about that, and I'll keep you posted. In good news, the Wayback Machine saved the MTV News page after Paramount Plus's website sweep, so all of those pages are still available. Shout out to them for archiving those. Katie O'Brien has been announced as the star of Tina Romero's Queen of the Dead film. Super stoked about that. The teaser trailer for Terrifier 3 has been released and is putting the better watch out and Santa Claus is coming to town. In this one, Michael Bay is allegedly creating both a Skibbity Toilet TV show and movie. Why? 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 But that's happening. Okay. This is one of those things where I'm like, it is my job to tell you these things. That's all I can say. Burial will be scoring Harmony Korine's new film Baby Invasion, which is very cool. I mean, Harmony Korine is a little bit hit or miss for me, but I think that's cool news. Charlie Plummer and Jordan Gonzalez, to name a few, have been added to the cast of the film adaptation of Stephen King's The Long Walk, which I love Jordan Gonzalez. If you watch Pretty Little Liars Original Sin, love Jordan Gonzalez. So very stoked about that. Jordan Peele is set to produce a Scare Tactics reboot. And I will link, we've written about Scare Tactics, I'll link that piece, but I think that's really exciting news. And just, we're all up, all rise, baby. Has Been Hotel has been already renewed for a 3rd and 4th season. So very excited for them. A prequel to The Boys called Vought Rising, starring Aya Cash and Jensen Ackles, has officially been announced, which I figured it was only a matter of time since The Boys will end with next season. The Ashley Simpson show turned 20 last week, which, what the actual F, y'all? But you can expect a couple of Ashley Simpson pieces coming from us soon. Working on those. Netflix has dropped the trailer for a new horror anthology series, Terror Tuesday Extreme, which will drop on August 20th. It looks dope. Each episode will tell a different horror story. Actually very excited about that. Shudder and IFC have announced that In a Violet Nature 2 is officially happening. I'm very interested to see, and if y'all could take my production notes, just gonna throw that out there. Just kidding. I'm sure it's gonna be great. And then we have some big Dexter news with several things. The opening credits for Dexter Original Sin have been released, with an announcement from Showtime that Michael C. Hall will voice Dexter's inner monologue. Additionally, Showtime has also announced a new series called Dexter Resurrection, starring Michael C. Hall. So big Dexter news. The joke on the internet right now is I can't wait to be let down by a series finale for the 3rd time. But y'all, the track record's not good on either. I watched both Dexter series, and the how the second one ended, it was, in my opinion, it was way out of character for Dexter. Anyway. Season 5 of Harley Quinn will be dropping in November, which, heck yeah. And then finally, and this is very interesting, mysterious signs have started appearing in Fernhill Park in Portland, Oregon, that are claiming Ouija boards are banned by a non-existent division of the Parks Department. And I'll link the Reddit post so that you can take a look for yourselves. But this is fun. I don't know if it's necessarily like the beginning of an ARG, or if it's just someone goofing around, like the person in New York who's putting like all the fake filming signs for, and just like that are like very silly. It's like filming location for when Carrie tells the girls that she's actually Garfield the cat. Just like a bunch of insanity. But either way, I think that's a very cool and fun little story. So I think that will do us for this week. Again, thank you for all of your patience, everybody. Again, just to kind of end on a little bit of a soapbox, like, just this year, and we've talked about this before, this year is all about giving myself grace. And something I am terrible about is overworking myself and burning myself out. And so if there are weeks where we don't have videos, or if there are maybe shorter videos, or if pieces go out a little late, I just appreciate your patience, because again, just know it's not because like I just didn't want to. That's never, Elliot and I are never just like, well, screw that, we don't want to do it. It's because there's something going on. There's always a reason why things are late. And sometimes it is as simple as just, I had this idea to add this thing to it. You know, but sometimes it's just, I was sick, or Elliot was sick, or, you know, family emergency. There's all kinds of things. And so I just want to let you know, like, if a video doesn't come out or something like that, it's not because we didn't want to do it. It's just, this year I am really, because it's something I've always struggled with, of like, I am my own worst enemy, I am my harshest critic, and I will work myself to the bone. And so I just really appreciate your patience. So, on that note, I think it's time to wrap it up. So please follow us on Instagram, just at bmovies channel, same as our YouTube. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at Lisa_Frankenstein_. Feel free to follow Elliot on Instagram at reading.with.red. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed. It's free. Give us a like if you feel so inclined. And leave a comment if you're feeling frisky. And so on that note, all that's left to do is fade to black.